Hey guys, back again, and we are almost there, almost done with the application. So what we need to do is to handle um, first. Okay, we can do this. We are going to handle that. If the user is not logged in, we are not going to allow him to go to new post. And also we have this component that is going to redirect us to post and the ID of the document. And we still need to do that. So let's do it. Let's go to the post.js component and import some things that we're going to import. React, use effect, use state, and use reference. Okay. And redirect from React router. The first four are coming from React, and redirect is coming from React router. We also need I think we need our configuration. Well, let's leave that out for now. So let's say constant post. Let's create post equal to this function. So we need to return something just to have this working. Let me remove that spacing, and it's a React fragment with this post works, something like that. Let's just export default and post. We also need to create the route. So let's go to route. Since we already have the component added, let's import it here from components and post. So we need to add it here, Control C and Control V to copy that. So remember that we have set, okay, because maybe you don't know, because I copied that thing. So in case you don't know, let's go to main. We have this link, okay, and we set the redirect. I will forget this because since I just copied this thinking it's just HTML. So this is link coming from React router. Okay, here it is on line 2. We tell link what we want, okay, and where we want to go when we click this. In this case, the image that is this one, okay. So how we say to link where we want to go, we need to add well, we can add anything, okay, but between these curly braces we just want to say post because that is the route we're going to use. So this is going to be post and the ID, okay, this is a parameter. So that's where's the hell, okay, main. So since we want to go to post and the ID, we're going to set post slash and the post ID that comes from the document, okay. So that's how that is working. And now it takes a little bit. I think they updated some things on Firebase because let me show you something. And this is going to be different, okay. I'm building right now, I just finished building the React API that is similar to this. I will show you a preview, but this is different, okay. So maybe because this took a little bit to start, and maybe they are changing some things in Firebase, okay. So but since this is another version, okay, I think one version below of what they have, and then this is still working, but this is not going to work because this is not a function anymore, okay. But right now in this version, so in case you are working with this, okay, because this is important, else you will not get the data. You would use something like, let me just copy this, paste it. Instead of using this one, you would go and use just this one. Okay, this is going to come as a property, not as a function. So in this case, this is still working. We are still fetching here and still fetching here, because that is the same that we're going to do, use this data as a function. So let's see. So okay, we already have the route and this is working. So let's start building inside, or well, let's build just this component, okay, because I always go from one file to another, knowing what I'm going to build. And let's first build this. So we're going to need some things here. Okay, I'm just going to copy a few things. These are helpers, okay, constant helpers. We're going to use, yep, we're going to use props here. Okay. Or I think it works without these props, but let's see. So we need two things. First, the timer and set timer. The timer is going to allow us to load the content of the posts. Okay. Right now it's okay. I forgot to do that. This is not working because I forgot to change this to post. That is the component that we are going to use. Okay. Okay. Now you can see post works. So this is the timer, and the edit mode is the button. Okay, it's going to be used on the button that will allow us to toggle between the form and between showing and not the form that will allow us to edit. Another one is the constant user state. Okay, all this you can define. It's going to start with false, and this is going to handle our user state. Is busy. We already did that on the last component. Is busy, that is going to allow us to know when the application is doing something. The post, and set post, because we're going to need to create a few things with this post. Okay, to assign a few things. You just need to define this. We're going to start working with them in a few moments. Okay, so just define them. Right now we have planned things with this, but just define them, don't worry about it. These ones are going to be the reference, okay, of the inputs. So we define one for the title, one for the content, and one for the file. Okay, define 3 because those are the things we're using. We're defining title, content, and the file, the cover for the posts. Let me just copy a couple more. This is the post ID, and set post ID because we are going to set the ID that is coming from the URL. This one, okay, we're going to set that into the state so we don't have to use it. So we can use it better set in a function that we need. And the redirections, that you should already know how this works. Let me just get the redirection, and we should be done with copying and pasting things. Okay, so just get all these things right, and we can start. So let's add it here. Let's add a little space in there just to fit some things, and we are going to do something that is create all the the image, the title, and all that to display them all here. So this is going to take a bit. So we're going to define let current post current. Okay, this is the current post. So let edit button. Okay, these are going to be the HTML delete button. Okay, so we need all the information from the current post, and to display it, the edit and delete buttons. Now we're going to define here a function constant update current post equals this gets an event, and let's just say event that prevent default, and the just a console right now, console.log post updated, just like that. So we have this function that is the function that we're going to use on the submit. We're going to define below here a let update form, that this is going to handle the update form, and above this we're going to create another constant that is edit post equals to this, to a function, and this is going to do something. So when we click this, although this should be named differently, you will see why. We're going to use set edit mode. Okay, the setter that we have here, okay, for the edit mode, we're going to set edit mode to be this edit mode to be the inverse of what we have. So when we click this, if it's false, it's going to change it to true, and if it's true, it's going to change it to false. Okay, so that is what it's going to do, this constant. So we're going to start with the update form that is going to actually have the HTML that is a little bit is quite a bit. So it's going to say if, because we did this edit mode. So remember that with this edit mode edit post function, we're going to change it. So if edit mode is true, so we can here is the toggle, this is the toggle of the functionality. If edit mode is true, we're going to say delete button that we already have defined to, let me just copy this because this is HTML, a button class name delete with an on click that is this function. Okay, remember that we call this event, so when the component is mounted, it doesn't run the function right away. Okay, so we need to create this function. So we're going to create it. Let's create it here. Constant delete current post. So we're going to say here just a console right now, console.log. This functionality we still don't have it because we need to add it inside our config. So let's say post deleted. Okay, now that should work. Inside here we're going to do something else. Let me just toggle my word wrap in my code so I can see that, and let me just toggle this here in case it gets longer than what this thing can show. So we're going to say if is busy, that we still don't have that, we have defined it, but at this moment this is false, we haven't changed the state. We're going to say update form equals to a loader Let me copy and paste this. So this is the loader. Okay, just like that. With class name processing and with the loader. So if it's busy, okay, if it's doing something, we're going to change what is inside the update form and display this. Okay. So this one is going to be else below this one, and the update form, in case is busy is not true, is going to be the form. Let's build it. React fragment. So I'm going to build this one because we're going to use the reference. Let me add some space in there, and let me add some indentation here. Just so let's say form, and this form is going to have the class name of edit form, so we can style it, and the onSubmit is going to be the update. Okay, no, it's just like this, the update current post. Now inside here, I'm just going to copy the label and type the first one because the rest are similar. So if you understand this, then everything is going to be fine. So let's say input type text name title. I'm just saying a name because why not, although it's not needed. And we're going to say this reference. Let me just close this. Reference is going to be the title ref that we have. Okay, so this is going to store the reference inside this. Okay, and using that we're going to be able to get the current value so we can change it. So in this case we're going to say default value. Why default value instead of just this value? Because default value is going to allow us to change what is inside this. Okay, so let me show you first. Let's define value, and we don't have anything right now, but okay, let's just define this like it is right now, and we are going to fetch because we haven't fetched the post, that's why. So let's finish the form. I just wanted to finish the HTML. So what we're going to do is just define them like so. I'm going to change a few things, okay, and I'm going to show you why this is important. Let's change this to value. Okay, we still don't have this, so you will see where this thing is coming from, and we need two more things, that is the other one and the input. Okay, so we're going to set these references, and you can see that this one doesn't have a value because this is a file input. Okay, so let's just save that. Below here we're going to say delete button, because this delete button is this one. Okay, so we're going to define the delete button in line 51, and according to this if else statement we're going to define if it's false, if it's business false, we're going to add below this form. That's why we're using React fragment, because this is kind of a div. We're going to add delete form below this form, delete button, sorry, so we can have that. And whenever it changes, it just changes everything to just this loading, and we cannot see the delete button. That's why I'm adding that inside this React fragment that contains the form. And now we're going to set a timer because we need this if timer is false, current post is going to be equal. So current post is what is going to show us what comes from the post. So let's just wait. This should work, but what's this? Syntax error. Let's see. So you want me to remove this maybe? Just defining the... Okay, so this is not going to show because we don't have we have a lot of things that we are not using, but this is not going to show because remember that that is only going to happen when we click the edit button, so we still don't have that. First, now that we have defined what is going to happen with the edit, the update form is not being used, that's why it's grayed out. We need to get the current post. So remember that with this route, I always get confused. We have already a function here that is getting the post ID. Okay, is this get post with the post ID, and it's going to return us the post. Let me close this. Let me close the CSS and the index and the main. So we are working only with the post.js. So okay, let's add it maybe below. Yep, let's add it here. It should work. So we're going to say this constant get post. We need to define some things first. Okay, that's why we are not going to set this one inside the use effect right away. So we're going to say async, an async function. So this get post is going to be run when this is mounted, okay? So the component is mounted, but we need to define some things first and then add it to the use effect, okay? Remember that the use effect is going to run when the component is mounted and whenever the state changes. That's why if you do something wrong, it's going to that updates the state. It's going to re-render, okay, in an infinite loop. So you need to be careful. So we're going to say this. Here we're going to get the post ID. Okay, let me just scroll a bit so I can see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to define const underscore post just to have the same naming, although I could say post just like that. Post and await Firebase that get post. Okay, that's why we need our configuration. Let me add my configuration. Forgot to add that. Okay, we need to add the class, okay, that we have defined. So now we can just get post with the post ID. So we're going to define only the function here and we're going to call it inside this with the parameters we need. So get post, and now we can say catch. It allows us to catch the error in this instance. So let's say console.log error, and what it comes is going to be inside another constant. So we're going to say constant post data is going to be equals to what is coming from the post, because it has, you can see this, okay, it has this data method that is going to return But in the new version, this is going to come like post and data. This is going to be a property, okay? It's not going to be a method anymore. You will see, because that happened when I was working with the API context using something similar to this, and I just rebuilt this one using the React context, and it told me that this was not a method. Okay, so that's why I know that. So let's say, remember that we have a post here, so we need to set this post in order to use it. So we're going to say set post, okay, to the post data. So this is going to have the content, title, cover, and file ref that we defined. Okay, it's going to fetch everything from Firebase, but we're not running this function. We need to run it inside the use effect in order to to use it. So we're going to set some things here. We're going to set first a timer, because we want to add the spinner sometimes when we click between two images. Let me go back. What the hell? You can see that it is kind of slower than what it was before. I don't know why. Okay, maybe they changed something. They like to make changes every now and then. So when we click one, it's going to change the state. Okay, and when we click other one, sometimes it's going to show the first one, the one we clicked before first, and then it's going to change it. That's why we're going to set the timer. Now we're going to do something here. We're going to set the post ID. Remember that we have the post ID here. I told you that we needed this so we can use the current ID that we have inside the URL. Okay, so we have it in this one. We have it here on line 17. So the post ID is going to use the props that match that that ID. So this is going to fetch us this ID, okay, that comes from the URL. Now we need to say get post. You might be thinking, okay, we can use post ID, but let's see what happens. Okay, so this post ID, this get post is what is going to fetch the post, and we can add. I think we have this thing. I will. Okay. Create post. No. Okay, the user state. We're going to use the user state here. So we're going to say Firebase, because we need this in order to handle the user state. Remember that in the preview I showed you that the edit and delete button are not showing if the user is not logged in. Okay, so this is how we are going to reach that functionality. So we're going to say Firebase that get user state. Then we're going to say user if user, okay, if user exists, if the user is logged in, and this is also going to help us if the user refreshes the page. We're going to set user state. That's why we have this, because we can store the user. Okay? We can say user, or we can say true. We're going to say true because what we have in the set user is false. Okay, but that's why we need this set user state and the user state constant in order to tell this part of the state, okay, that lives only in this component, to tell it what it needs to do and what it needs to know about the user, so it can display or not certain functionality. And now here we're going to set So let me just remove this to see, to show you what's going on, and set timeout. We're going to set a function here, a set timeout, that is going to be, so let me just add this one, okay, an empty array there, so it doesn't get caught in an infinite loop, because we're going to change the state here in line 32 and 33, so it's going to re-render in case we don't tell it, okay, that we only want it to run with certain things changed. So in case you don't know, since this is just an empty array, it's not used anywhere, it's not a constant, it's not a variable, and React is going to see that this is not changing anymore, okay, and this is going to run only once. So we're going to set timer to be false, and just for a second. We're going to wait a second and set it to false, but we're going to comment it out, and let's see what we get. Prop is not defined on line 32. Post.js. Props. Okay, forgot that I didn't add this. So we need the props. Remember that you need to add the props inside this function. Okay, so in line 25 it says cannot read property data of undefined. We have something for a function. Correlation reference that doc requires its first argument to be of type non-empty string, but it was this empty. Okay, why? Okay, so this gave me an idea that you could use, but you could, it's because of this. Okay, we're setting get post ID to the post ID, but right now it's not going to update the how can I say this, the state. Okay, so there are two things that you could do. Okay, you can say you can set this to be the default state, okay, the props, and just keep it like that. Okay, so that should have the ID. Let's Control C. Okay, there are no errors and it should work, but we still don't have that. Or you can keep it like this. Okay, it should work. Or you can just keep this if you don't want to have the ID for a reason. Just get this props ID and use it here, and you will see that we still have no errors, okay, because that is defined, but we're not showing anything. So you can do it like that in any way you want. So now what is going to say, okay, we are not showing anything, so it's time for us to create what is going to be displayed. Since this component has all the functionality, the delete and edit and the fetching with changing different states for the routing, for the loading, that's why it's bigger than the other components. So we are almost at the end. We need to define here, let's define it. If timer, that we have the timer above in the use effect, but right now it's commented out. Let's say current post, we have this is going to be what displays the current post with the information we just gathered or we just fetched from the Firebase database from Firestore. So if the timer is true, we're going to set this to the loading state to show the spinner. Else we're going to say also if user state is defined as true, edit, we already have edit button defined up there. That's why we defined everything before. we're going to copy this, or I'm going to copy this because this is just a button with a function that we already have defined. So this is going to call the edit post. This is a button, class name edit. On click is going to handle this in function, the edit post, and with only the edit post text. So the edit post, remember that it's going to change. So that's why we could change this to change post, change edit mode, or toggle edit mode. That would be better. So we copy this so you don't get lost. And this is the function that is going to run, the toggle edit mode. Okay, let's save that. And below this one, why we are setting this current user state, or this user state, sorry, because we're going to remove the edit button if the user is not logged in, and it's going to be the same with the delete, but I don't have it here, so we can add it with just that if statement. So let's see. I think I forgot to add that, so we can add it in case it doesn't work like we want. So if user state, the edit button, okay, and now here below we're going to define the current post to be equals to this div. I'm going to type this div with class name, sorry, with class name. Why is not okay? Class name single. This is going to display all that we have inside the post. So this source is going to be the post cover, and we're going to have an h2 here that is the post title, and we're going to have below this div that is the post content. Below we have two options. Okay, I know why, sorry, we are not going to say the delete mode to use the set user state, because we are already showing only with the edit, and this is going to not show if the user is not logged in. Okay, since we don't allow it with this, that's why we are not using the if user state to wrap the delete button. So now we can say edit button and update form. So these two should be defined before doing all this. Okay, that's why we have this at the very end of the component, and we have all this above. Okay, so this should work. And now we can just change what is inside here and say current post. Save this, and this is going to show. Since we are not logged in, it's not going to show us that. What the hell is going on with my thread? So let's say, let me just copy the styling, because you can see sheet with the image that big. So let me go to my index. I think is the single image. So let me just copy and go back here. Not up CSS, is index CSS. We can define it below the post, but let's say, well, we can define it here. Okay, you can see that it changes. It shows image is still too big, but well. And now let's come back here and log in. 1 2 3 4 5 6 login. It redirects us. we can see the posts, and you can see that the first thing that loaded was the edit post. We can click this and we can edit the post, but we don't have this thing yet. Let me see the time, 40 minutes. So we're going to leave this one here, and we're going to continue because I want to show you something with the use ref and the default values, and this is going to get too long. So yeah, and we are going to handle the delete also and the update there. Yep, that should be the best. So just wait for it and see you on the next one.